Welcome back to my weekly rants. We talk about what's hot, what's not, and everything in between. It's your girl Dominica. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and definitely leave me some comments on this video. So, now that I got that out of the way, I'm just drinking some water currently. You guys know I love my LaCroix. This is the guava flavor. I feel like I needed something stronger for this video, but I don't feel like getting up. So LaCroix it is. Okay, so let me take a sip. One moment. So I've been thinking a lot about everything I want to talk about in this video. I might take a pause to reference my notes, which are behind me. So yeah, let's get into it, you guys. My son, TJ, who is 7 years old, has dyslexia. And we got this dyslexia diagnosis back in November. Okay, so it's been a couple months. First of all, if you are a parent with a child with dyslexia, or you think your child has dyslexia, drop down below and just throw up a fist for me, okay? Because I want this video to serve as a place where we can drop down the comments and chat about it, a place for support. As I start on this journey as a parent with a child with dyslexia, you know, I'm a YouTuber, right? I'm here posting content on YouTube, and a lot of times I'm consuming content on YouTube. And I noticed when I started looking for videos on dyslexia, there's like none, or I shouldn't say none, but a lot of the videos were popping up were from like 7 years ago, 13 years ago. And I'm super surprised that there's not more conversations about it, because I don't know about you guys, but the first time I heard about and understood what dyslexia was from The Cosby Show. Watching an episode of The Cosby Show, and we finally discovered why Theo struggled in school so much and why he was like a C student, and we finally learned like that he wasn't a screw up, you know, that he was actually very intelligent and he had this thing called dyslexia. And he even went on in college, and when they did the spinoff of A Different World, you would see him mentoring and tutoring other students who had similar issues. So pardon my ignorance, I didn't realize today, fast forward today in 2024, that there was still so few conversations surrounding dyslexia. I thought that it was, and it is, it's very common. A lot of people have it. I've questioned myself now that my son is going through this, like, did he get this from me? Because, you know, my husband is, you know, a straight A student. Nothing was hard for him, nothing like that. I did well in school as well, A and B student, but didn't come easy for me. I remember, you know, struggling through a lot of things and having breakthroughs and learning different tools, you know, to help me do well, you know, based on the way that my brain worked. And so I'm just like, I don't know. I just thought that there would be more information circulating when I typed in dyslexia on the YouTube search bar, and it was like videos, like I said, 7 to 13 years old, and it just wasn't very much. So I'm like, I'm gonna start a conversation on my channel and see where this goes. But this particular video, I want to share with you guys what my journey has been like so far. So first of all, we got an official diagnosis back in November, and it's January now, so it's been a couple of months, and we had to do that privately through a learning center called Keeping Pace, which I absolutely love. This is not my first experience with Keeping Pace. I have a 15-year-old son, and he was having some reading challenges when he was younger, and I sent him through Keeping Pace. He's not dyslexic, but we did find that he had some auditory processing issues. They put him in a 12-month program, and he's just flourished from there. He's doing amazing in school now. Like I said, he's in high school. He's in 10th grade. He's a A/B student, and he loves school. He went from crying every night going through homework, I mean, it was like crying battles, to now he just flies through it. And so I first want to say I'm kind of moving all over the place. I hope I can stay on top task here. You guys have to forgive me. So my first thought was, when we sent my 15-year-old through this program, it is wildly costly. It's very expensive. And I'm thankful that my husband and I have the resources that we can support our children in this way. But when I saw my 7-year-old, the youngest, struggling specifically with reading, I have to be honest, I was like, ooh, okay. I immediately started getting him extra help, but I first went to Kumon, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with Kumon. It's a learning center as well. And I thought maybe, okay, he just needs some extra time, extra help, because I thought maybe I haven't been spending enough time with him and whatever the case may be. So many things went through my mind. And some of you may or may not know, but I lost my mom in 2021. So I don't know. I was just thinking to myself, maybe I just haven't, you know, been as present. Maybe we haven't spent enough time reading. So maybe let me just get him in Kumon, and that'll help him. And Kumon is, you know, it's costly too, but not as costly as Keeping Pace. And I didn't think, for whatever reason, that he needed like an official assessment. Because I'm gonna be honest, I started seeing some of the struggles he was having with reading, and like he was flipping letters, numbers, and I thought, I Googled it, and I was thinking that was actually my first thought. My grandmother always said, go with your first mind, right? My first thought was, oh my God, is my son dyslexic? Because he keeps reversing numbers and letters. But at this time, when I first had this thought, he was probably like 5. He's 7 now. And when I Googled it, they were saying that at that age is too young to diagnose dyslexia. And I read like some of the symptoms of it, and he had a lot of them, but it said, you know, at that age, at his age, I think my first thought of this was like 4 or 5, that it probably wasn't dyslexia, and the reversal of the numbers and letters and all that would self-correct itself. So I brushed it off. I'm like, okay, cool, but let me get him some extra help. So we spent 9 months in Kumon, and I didn't really see that much progress with his reading, specifically. The math whizzed through, but his reading specifically, after 9 months in Kumon, I was not seeing much of an improvement. His teacher all through first grade was just like, oh, he'll come along, just keep working with him. They had a summer school, just send him in the summer school, we'll keep working with him. Did all of that, and the reading still just was not coming along, was not closing the gap. And actually the gap is getting wider, obviously, right? Because he keeps progressing in grade level, but the reading just is not coming along like I wanted to. So I was like, in the back of my mind, like, I need to get him assessed at Keeping Pace. And Keeping Pace assessment is extremely extensive. I mean, extremely extensive. That's the only way I can describe it. PhD level extensive. They do all type of tests and studies, and they're very well versed on different learning disorders. So I call up Keeping Pace. I'm like, this is what's going on. They're like, okay, let's get him assessed. They got him assessed. The assessment came back is high probability for dyslexia. And so I said, like I said, my grandmother always said, go with your first mind. So of course they kicked into action a game plan, and he's been working with them ever since. Okay. And I have huge faith in the program Keeping Pace. It's not just something that he works at their center with, but there's also things that we have to do at home. They have a listening program where he listens to different classical music that helps, I don't know the word, maybe rewire, you know, certain parts of his brain to help him along. There's homework they send home, and then he spends an hour and a half in the center 2 days a week. And so the things I want to talk about in this video is, number one, my son is a Black boy, okay, obviously, right? And I have 2 Black sons, and immediately I have 2 Black sons and 1 daughter, right? And my daughter is the oldest, and when she was matriculating through school, I mean, my daughter learns very easily. She picks up things easily. School was a breeze for her academically. Um, but I never really had any challenges with her as far as like behavioral, and that's also part of her personality as well. But never any calls, never nothing, right? And so I have my first son, and it's the exact opposite. And I'm like, and my son is not, neither one of them like bad kids. Like, they're boys. But I immediately noticed the difference. And I was like, oh my God, this is what it's like to have a black son. Like immediately, I don't care what anybody says. You guys drop down below that are mothers of black sons or fathers of black sons and let me know what you think about this. But I immediately saw a difference on the way that my son was viewed in the school system, the way that he was treated. And this started happening at a very, very young age. I'm talking about like preschool, okay, 3-year-old, 4-year-olds. And my sister-in-law, she actually did a study on this because she's a preschool teacher, and the study she was sharing with me is that black boys specifically, as early an age as 3 years old, start being treated differently in the classroom, by teachers and administration solely because of the color of their skin, compared to their white counterparts. Okay, I immediately started noticing this, and like I said, this is at a young age, preschool age, kindergarten age. I'm getting calls almost every day for my now 15-year-old, a young man who is super sweet. He's not problematic. He's not like, when I was getting these phone calls every day, I was like, in the back of my mind, like, what are y'all calling me for? He did this today. He did this today. And I was just like, what? And it literally took me, for my 15-year-old, you guys, 4 schools. Mind you, I'm going to go back to my daughter for a little bit. Matriculating her through school, never got any calls. She would, we were pretty much at the same school all the time. But for my son, my first son, it took me like 4 different school changes for me to find a school that was a good fit for him. 4 different schools, okay? And like I said, he's an amazing young man. Anybody who knows my son knows he's an amazing young man. And so I'm kind of summarizing a bit, but I immediately started noticing like, dang, having a black son and matriculating a black son through the school district, it's not going to be easy, okay? But we finally got on a smooth sailing with my 15-year-old, and he's doing great now. But I have another son. And so I already have a little bit of background of like what it's like and how to maneuver through the school system. And we've been doing pretty good with that. But now we have to add this dyslexia component, right? And so I'm learning so much about it, specifically at the center that we're taking him to, keeping pace. He has a parent advocate there assigned to me, which has been super helpful because I have no idea what it's like or what it's going to be like for me now to navigate the school system with this dyslexia diagnosis, to make sure that he gets the proper tools that he needs, because I'm also learning that that's a whole upward battle. And I have to tell you guys, my parent advocate, she is a white woman, and she frankly told me straight up and down, this is all she does. She advocates, she works with the school district that we're in on a continuous basis. And she also has a child who's dyslexic. And she straight up told me, my experience as a white woman with a white son is completely different than your experience as a black woman with a black son, right? And so I'm like, whew, I felt a little relief to hear someone say that, especially someone who doesn't look like me, right? Because sometimes you think you're crazy. Sometimes you think maybe I'm tripping, but to hear her say that and share some of her vast experiences with me, let me know, gosh, I'm in for a fight. But I mean, God put the right person in the right place, because I am the one. Like, I'm a fighter. And so, some of the conversations that I've had with his teacher recently have put so many questions in my mind, because I'm like, gee whiz, we went all through first grade and it's like, oh, he'll be fine and just keep doing this and keep doing that. But it's like, somewhere in the back of my mind, I feel like, I think you guys know or knew you know, something else was going on. They have been sending him to what they call reading intervention. And I've had to ask several questions about that recently, because I'm learning like this reading intervention is like, what is it? It's not really anything specifically structured. There's no set curriculum. I don't even, you guys check this out. They start sending him to reading intervention in first grade. He's now in second grade. They never even give me any updates or reports of like what he's doing there, you know? So I just feel like it's going to be a bit of a fight for me to get him all the tools that he needs to be successful. I also want to talk a little bit about dyslexia and intelligence or cognitive ability. And I want to make it very clear, those of you who may or may not know, or may be looking for information on this, or dealing with a child that you think might be dyslexic, or just got a diagnosis like me, please understand that dyslexia has nothing to do with cognitive ability. So you also really have to, or I feel like I have to make sure that my son understands that, and that's communicated to him, because, you know, they learn differently. That's primarily what it means. They learn differently. I'm super dumbing that down. But I don't ever want him or anybody else that he has to interact with, specifically in the school setting, think that because he has dyslexia means that he's dumb. Or I don't, you know what I mean? Primarily, I don't ever want him to think that, because it has nothing to do with your cognitive ability. He's super intelligent. He just learns differently, you know? So that's a struggle. Also, fathers. I want to talk about that for a minute, because I'm married. My husband is a super intellect. He's a UC Berkeley graduate, and he's a man. And men, things like this, I think can affect their ego a little bit, or they internalize it as, you know, oh my God, what did I do? Or how can I fix this? You know, that's always my husband's first go-to with things. And it's just like, we're doing everything that we need to do. We're giving him all the tools. He'll be fine, you know? He'll be fine. The other thing that I want to talk about is resources, access to resources. So like I said towards the beginning of this video, I'm super grateful that my husband and I have the financial resources to go and get our son tested, because that costs money. To put him in the center that he's in costs a lot of money, right? But I always think about those that don't have the resources that I have, because I know that there's other children that are struggling probably, or in my son's same situation. What do those parents do? And the school district is not providing these type of resources. They're kind of pushing your kids through, or like, oh, they're okay, or let me just send them to reading intervention, when no, you know, if they have dyslexia or they're struggling with something else, they probably need like some intensive intervention. And what we're getting at the center that we send him to privately costs a lot of money. And the school districts, they don't want to pick up those tabs, right? So what happens to the students that don't have those resources and need the same type of help and intervention? What happens to them? You know, that's been my question in my mind for some time, even back when I had to get my other son help. I was just like, you know, I quickly was able to find a resource, pay for it, get him in there. He did his 12 months. Like I said, we paid for it. He's doing great. Now we're dealing with our son. He has another set of issues that he's having to deal with. We got him assessed, paid for that, and paying for his program every month. And now, you know, he's gonna be just fine. And then we're all very much involved in the process and the time and everything that it takes to get him where he needs to be. But what about those that don't have those resources? That's always a question that's tingling in the back of my mind. So I'm gonna sum this video up, you guys, and say I hope that it was helpful just to start this conversation, because I do not see anybody else on YouTube currently having this conversation. So I'm hoping that we could you know, share down the comments, give me your feedback, let me know where you're at. If you're a parent like myself who has a child who has dyslexia. If you think your child might have dyslexia, let's talk about it, because that's where I'm at. Next week I am pressing to have like a meeting at my son's school to get them more involved and more on board. So they're clear and understanding he's not just gonna fall through the cracks. They know that I'm very active and present. I'm literally at the school every day, dropping them off, picking them up. I'm very involved. So I think they know that already, but still, it's still like you still have to stay on them. You still have to advocate. And if you have a Black child, a Black boy specifically, you really, really have to advocate. Because there's one thing, I'm sorry, I want to say before I wrap this up. I'm kind of also questioning one of the teachers that he's been dealing with for his reading intervention. I'm questioning her thought pattern, and I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm going to be meeting with her, but I'm questioning, like, why am I meeting with you now for the first time? Simply because I'm starting to ask more questions now that I know what my son is dealing with, and I'm getting more tools from the center he's going to. Now I know what questions to ask. Now that I'm asking questions is why I'm starting to get some, oh, we can meet with you and this and that. So what would have happened if I never asked these questions? Like, I feel like they were just going to keep on sliding him through. And I also think that they might have a certain perception of him just based on what he looks like, That's just my opinion. I mean, that's my feeling. So you guys, let's drop down below and continue this conversation. This will not be my last video on this. Like I said, we're really early in the journey. He started his intervention with Keeping Pace only 2 months ago. I'm seeing some slight improvements, but we still have a long way to go. So drop down below, you guys, and join this conversation with me. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, leave me some comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.